There are so many things that make the Netherlands special.
We are on a quest to experience as much of it as possible while visiting our daughter who lives here and taking Cassandra's father, who's from the Cayman Islands, on the European trip of a lifetime. This is our Netherlands story about our explorations and our family's connections with this beautiful land. Hey everybody, welcome to Kasteel de Haar. We're about 20 minutes drive west of Utrecht in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and in true Netherlands style, it's probably going to start raining on us.
It is raining a little bit right now.
Let's just go with it. It's been it's beautiful here. It's a nice, calm. It's such a different atmosphere from the city centers that we visited. So it's been nice to be here, walk around the grounds, and it was originally built in the 1300s, I believe, but it became, in the 1500s, I think it was almost totally ruined, and eventually in the 19th century, it was rebuilt. So what you see here today isn't actually that old. A lot of it's been rebuilt, but it's the grounds have been here. The original castle was from the 1300s. Actually, when it was rebuilt, it was used primarily as just like the summer residence. Lovely, lovely gardens. There's some flowers on either corner, lots of walking space.
It's a beautiful dahlia garden over here. So we're here in October, and this apparently is the best time for dahlias. It's a beautiful garden. Kasteel de Haar is just west of Utrecht, but there isn't a direct way to get here on a train. You can take a train from Utrecht Centraal to Vleuten Station, and then take a bus, and then it is still about a 15-minute walk to the castle gate. Either that, or you can take an Uber from Utrecht and be dropped off directly at the castle front gate. We decided to take an Uber to get there, but then at the end of the day, we opted for a walk and public transportation to get back to Utrecht Centraal. We entered through a courtyard and were immediately amazed by the beautiful fall colors on this October day.
Our first views of the castle were from across the formal front boxwood and rose gardens, where there were many colorful flowers, neatly manicured trees and shrubs, and walking paths to every part of the garden. Volunteers do a lot of the gardening work at the castle, and you can find information about volunteering on the Kasteel de Haar website. The web address is at the bottom of the screen. There was also an impressive tunnel covered by plants that appeared to be wisteria and rose vines. These were not in bloom at the time, but the tunnel still made for a dramatic approach to the castle. We exited the tunnel to a spectacular view of the castle, with a tranquil moat reflecting all of its magical beauty. Gazing around at the front gardens from the front of the castle feels like you are in a storybook. Then we glanced over to the right of the castle and noticed a brilliant display of colorful flowers. This is the Roman garden and was where we were going to head next.
After a short walk along a tree-lined path, we entered the Roman garden to a magnificent display of purple salvia flowers planted in an arch-shaped bed bordered by smaller white flowers. The overall garden was very symmetrical, with an identical display of salvia on the opposite side. There were also perfectly manicured trees, shaped like pyramids, adjacent to the walkways. Then, right next to the path leading toward the castle, was the most beautiful collection of dahlia flowers that we had ever seen. There were so many different colors and varieties of dahlias in this garden that we just couldn't stop staring at them. Dahlias typically bloom in late summer to early fall until the first frost, so early October when we were here was the perfect time to see them. Gazing out across the moat, we had a gorgeous view of the side of the castle, as well as the chapel that stands right beside it. After a bit of light rain, we had perfect weather for enjoying the gardens, so we spent some time just leisurely walking around and enjoying the flowers.
When the original castle was built in the 13th century, it was owned by a member of the Van der Haar family, who was a servant of the Prince Bishop of Utrecht. Then in the 15th century, the castle passed to the Van Zuylen family. In 1482, the castle was destroyed during disputes between the bishop and the city of Utrecht. Was rebuilt after that, but then fell into disrepair until the 19th century. At this time, Baron Etienne van Zuylen van Nijevelt decided to rebuild the family castle, in collaboration with Pierre Cuypers, the architect who designed Amsterdam Centraal Station and the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. They agreed to rebuild the castle in the neo-Gothic architectural style that was common in the Middle Ages. As we pass through the formidable outer wall of the castle, we enter the large courtyard of the castle where there is a drawbridge over the moat and well-manicured formal gardens. Here we get our first close-up views of the castle and make our way toward the entrance. Finally, we make it to the grand entrance of the castle, complete with a drawbridge and a substantial metal gate resembling jaws to keep out any potential intruders. Upon entering the castle, there is a sign saying that professional photography equipment and video productions are not allowed, so we only brought our cell phones inside and captured a small number of photos as we walked through.
The Baron and Baroness wanted to impress visitors to the castle, so they had the castle luxuriously furnished with all of the modern amenities of the late 19th century. It has everything that you might expect in an extravagant castle, including large entertaining and sitting areas, multiple bedrooms with plenty of extra seating and dressing space, a massive and fully equipped kitchen, and even a huge dinner bell to call guests to dinner. After touring the inside of the castle, we made our way back through the courtyard and gardens toward the exit. One could easily spend an entire day walking around the castle grounds, exploring along the many meandering paths around the water, over multiple bridges, and through several different gardens. There is even a deer park section of the grounds where visitors can see deer and other wildlife. We will certainly be coming back here during a future visit to do some more exploring.
We made our way back through the entry courtyard where we marveled at the fall colors one more time. On the way back to Utrecht, we decided to take the public transportation route instead of an Uber because we were not in a hurry. This involved a peaceful walk through the countryside for about 15 minutes to get to the nearest bus stop that would get us to Vleuten. Along this route, we had one more magnificent view of the castle from a distance, which was a perfect ending to a magical day at Castle de Haar. We walked along well-maintained bike and walking paths that began with manicured hedges, golden leaves dotting the path, and walking beneath an incredible wooden pedestrian bridge. The countryside then transitioned to open fields on both sides of a path lined with regal gray poplar trees, with their red and yellow fall leaves adorning the edges of the path.
These trees reminded me of the poplar and birch trees that I would see growing up in Michigan in the United States. But this type of tree in the Netherlands, called the gray poplar, is a popular landscape tree, in part because it has markings that resemble eyes. After walking along this lane of poplar trees, we entered a residential neighborhood where the fall colors were no less spectacular. And then we waited at a bus stop on the corner for about 10 minutes for a ride to Vleuten. Then it was just a short 11-minute train ride back to Utrecht Centraal Station. Overall, this was probably the most relaxed, peaceful day that we had in the Netherlands, and we look forward to visiting Castle de Haar again.
In our next episode, we revisit the highlights from our 2-week visit to the Netherlands, talk about our favorite things that we did in each location, and tell you all about the things that we learned through interactions with you, our viewers. Then we invite you to comment and tell us which places you'd like us to visit in the Netherlands when we create Volume 2 of our Netherlands story, which will be released in 2026.
Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.